Hi there. Welcome back for another master tip on building trust and also creating safety in the workplace. And when we talk about safety, I'm not necessarily talking about keeping it safe from accidents. What I'm actually talking about is how we create an environment of safety for open, honest, authentic dialogue. And this can be very difficult to accomplish, but I can tell you the benefits of doing that, creating trust, creating safety in our work environments is amazing. It can help reduce turnover, increase engagement. It reduces risks at work in the work environment. It can also lead to significantly better outcomes as it pertains to well-being and healthcare outcomes as well. So when we think about safety, the question I would ask you is how do you know that you feel safe with someone? And think about the relationships you have, whether it's at work or not at work, or maybe it's a particular manager or supervisor that you feel safe with. The reason you feel safe is because you know that they're there and that they have your back. And so, what does that actually mean? As we break that down, you know that because you've had interactions with them, relational dynamic interactions that have actually allowed you to feel like they've heard you, they've seen you, they respect you, and they value you. Not just because of what you do, but because of who you are as a whole person. Trust is very much connected to that. And if you look at the dictionary definition of trust, it's around the reliance on the integrity, strength, ability, surety of a person. And so when you think about that, think about who do you trust? So who do you feel safe with and who do you trust? Many times they're going to be the same people because they reflect that ability of integrity, of strength, ability, surety. You know that they will have your back. So trust is both an emotional and a rational act. And so when we only talk about, well, you can trust me because I've done X, Y, and Z, we're actually not tapping into the emotional component of trust, which actually has a significant and important part to play in how we build trust in our work environments. Emotions that are typically associated with trust include things like gratitude and security, feeling confident, feeling accepted. And so if we don't include that in how we build trust, then we're missing out actually on the benefits that um, we can gain as a result of that for ourselves as individuals, but also as an organization. So we know that trust is a key leadership competency, but how do we actually get there? So there are several key factors. Number one, having a strong vision. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves, but it's up to the leader, whatever level you're at in leadership, whether you're a manager, supervisor, whether you're a VP, whether you're a CEO, whether you're a leader of the department. It's always going to be about how an individual knows that you are bought into the vision of the organization, that you know we're heading in a direction that is amazing, wonderful, and solves a problem that no other organization is trying to solve or is solving it in a way that's different. And so, how do I have good, strong vision? So, for example, in healthcare, we often talk about we want patients to have the best experience. And that's a very generic term. What we really want to get to is what is the kind of experience and what specifically that we want patients to have with us that is different than everybody else. We also have to have strong values. Now, when we talk about values, values are not just characteristics put on a piece of paper, posted up, and now we are an organization with values. Values have to be embedded in the decisions we make, the conversations we have, and how we actually treat people. So, for example, I say we have a value of honesty, or I have a value of authenticity. And that as an organization, we have that. If I don't allow people to actually be honest and authentic within the organizational structure, then that's actually not a real value for me or for the organization. So when we think about values, think about it in terms of what your organizational values are and how do they show up every single day, whether it's in policy, whether it's in conversation, whether it's in how you hire or how you measure performance, how do those values actually get translated into really practical, actionable items? We also want to trust the people around us. And how do we do that? We trust them by having interactions that allow us to share, but also allow us to be heard and allow for us to hear other people. So when we think about that, think about the environments we're in. Healthcare is a very busy, very challenging, and sometimes a very chaotic environment. So how do we feel heard in that environment? Sometimes it's just having a little bit of a huddle prior to and saying, how's everybody doing today? Where's everybody at? I really want to know where, what's going on, what's working for you, what's not working for you, what's working about my role, what's not working about my role. And being able to have that forum that allows for real, honest, authentic conversation. Now that only works if there's an understanding that something will be done with the information. So if, for example, you're having a type of huddle where you pull that kind of information, if you walk away with that without any action to it, people actually will trust you less over time. And this has to happen not only from leader to frontline worker, this actually happens within the team itself. So, for example, if you're in the clinic as a physician or as a nurse practitioner or a PA, and you're actually working with a team, including maybe let's say a medical assistant or a front desk person, if every interaction isn't felt like I see this person, I value this person, I appreciate who they are as an individual, then it actually doesn't build that trust. So you have to actually be intentional in the kind of language that you're providing for that. And so that means we have to be credible. And to be credible, that means we have to have integrity. And integrity is really defined as the adherence to moral and ethical principles, a soundness of moral character, and being honest. And sometimes we have to be honest about really hard things, things that didn't go so well, things that aren't actually as great as I'd like them to be. It also means we have to be intentional. And the intent refers to our motives, agendas, and the behaviors behind them. So if I'm doing something, I need to be honest about what my motive and agenda is. And I need to be open about that. I need to be open with what I can do and what I can't do. What am I capable of doing and what am I not capable of doing? And I also need to be aware of the results that come out of those behaviors and those actions. So that's a way to think about trust. Now let's talk about safety. Again, think about who you feel safe with. You feel safe with people typically that know who you are as a person. They know your character, they know what you're all about. They get you. And because they get you, you feel safe with them. And you get them too. So when we think about this in the work environment, think about, again, your teams. Do your teams know each other? Do they know or do they just know the tasks people do? Do they actually understand? Do they have the opportunity to build relationships that create safety that then allow for improvements, innovation, and changes that actually lead to better outcomes, increased productivity, reduced turnover, increased engagement? So an example of that. So when I'm working in a team, I often will say, so tell me how things are going. I work with a team in a particular healthcare environment, and oftentimes I will say something like, so how are people doing? Because we work in a difficult environment, sometimes with very challenging cases and challenging dynamics. And how are people doing? And sometimes we'll pull out a specific case and actually talk about it, not from a clinical standpoint, but really from a dynamic standpoint. How could we help each other better as a team in this? What are some of the things you're feeling as a result of this? A quick example, we recently had a pediatric case. Pediatric cases also always elicit significant emotion. And in this case, the child passed away. As a result of that, we pulled the team together along with, it was a social worker, it was a spiritual advisor, it was a nurse, it was a case manager. And we pulled together and just said, tell me what your experience was. What was coming out of that? And because some of the individuals had children, some did not, there were very different experiences, but because we were able to share that, we all gained a deeper understanding of who we are as individuals and the impacts that cases like this can have on us. By building that kind of interaction, we now have an ability to say, I know that person better. And because I know them better, I feel safe with them because I know that they've been through similar experiences or they've been willing to share their experience with me. So shared experience is a great way of really determining safety in relationships as it applies to teams. And the same is true between supervisor, frontline worker, managers, whatever interactions you're looking at. So, for example, as a manager or as a leader, if I'm saying one thing, but then I'm doing something different that directly impacts an individual, then that's not creating safety. It's not creating trust. An example would be I knew a friend of mine who recently started a new job that they offered her the ability to work remotely. They offered her a laptop. They offered her a number of different things. But when it came down to it, when she was hired, they told her something it was completely different from that. There was no opportunity to be flexible with their hours. There was no opportunity and to be able to work remotely. Because of that, there was a lack of trust in the leadership. There was a lack of trust in the organization. Didn't feel safe. Like I was open with you. I was vulnerable with you about what my needs were, and you ignored that. Now, that doesn't mean we have to meet all of those needs, but what it does mean is we need to be honest about it. And because they weren't honest and because there was lack of trust, a lack of safety, she left after about 2 months. And again, you can tell that those are the kinds of experiences that people have that will lead to them leaving an organization. So in order to combat that, we need to be willing to create environments that are safe and trusting. I want to highlight our communication pathway, our communication videos that will help in creating some of that trust and safety. And if you want to learn more, please subscribe to our channel. And we are going to continue to post videos that really highlight this. And also, we have our website. Please sign up for our newsletter. And if there's anything else we can do, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was practical. And we look forward to hearing from you.